Okay, welcome back. We are watching the senior lightweight women's quad here at the 136th edition of the Royal Canadian Henley. At the bottom of your screen in lane 2, we have North Star Rowing Club. In lane 3, Guelph. Lane 4, St. Catharines. Lane 5, Vesper from Philadelphia. Lane 6, Seattle. And in lane 7, the University of Victoria Rowing Club.
Yes, so slight headwind conditions, slight crosshead today, but overall very good conditions for racing. The wind is slight. You can see the crews tapping and trying to keep themselves straight in the lane. The officials will be pulling them soon, telling them to sit up and get ready to go. So you can see all crews sitting up. A partial slide situation at half or three-quarters or whatever their plan is. And just the bow seats are tapping it to make sure they stay straight.
Yeah, with the headwind in an event like this, all the women had to weigh in this morning at a maximum of 59 kilograms. So there's not going to be a weight advantage. Sometimes in the junior events, we have lightweights and heavyweights mixed in. They don't have to weigh in. So in an event like this, there is a very level playing field.
Yes.
Yeah. In the North Star boat, we have in bow Tara Barnett and three-seat Hannah Meeson. They won the senior women's lightweight pair on Friday. They also have Jenna Pelham, who won the senior lightweight women's single this week. So there's a lot of Henley experience.
And North Star just caught a crab. Speaking of.
Oh, it looks like bow seat struggling to get her oar back and get into this race.
Wow, that is a rough start for North Star. It looks like they might be having some equipment issues. It looks like her oar, when she caught a crab, flew up and she can't get it back into the oar lock.
That's a real tough way to start the finals here. And it looks like Bowseat still hasn't been able to reach her oar. It's almost out of her arm's length reach. The North Star boat has now stopped rowing. They're going to try and get that equipment back and salvage what they can out of this race. But with the senior lightweight women event, they're not going to be in contention anymore.
Yes. All right. So right now it looks like Vesper has a slight advantage, but it is difficult to say from our vantage point. But it's definitely a good race for these 5 boats. They are all pretty tight. Nobody has been dropped other than North Star off the start.
Yeah, there's a lot of experience in these boats. In the St. Catharines boat, you have Andrea Jansen. She was 6th in the senior lightweight women's single. Carly Zanata, she was 4th in the senior lightweight women's single. And Michelle Prince is rowing for St. Catharines. She's a multi-time Henley gold medalist, so she's going to bring a lot of experience to that boat.
Yes. So coming into the second 500, it is Vesper by, it looks like, 3/4 of a length. They're going to come into perfect view in just a couple strokes. Vesper is followed closely by St. Catharines and Seattle.
Yeah, that's a very tight race there in second. So what could happen, you have Vesper out in front, but St. Catharines and Seattle, as they start pushing with each other, that's going to start to bring them back into contact with Vesper. During the second 500 meter of the race, this is when you start to see some more strategies. Some crews are going to decide that in the second 5, they want to make more of a push there and set themselves up for the last half of the race. Other crews are just going to try and hold back a little bit, and that third 500 is where they try and make a few more moves.
Yes. So these athletes are racing for the Silver Fox Trophy. So again, it's Henley. Only 1 gold, only 1 trophy. There's no silver or bronze here. So it is Vesper, who is currently in the best position in the second 500 for that gold.
Yeah, Vesper, they currently have the most wins in this event. They've won this 4 times. The event originally started out as an intermediate lightweight quad in 1986, and it was won by Montreal. And then in 2000, Henley changed their categories from intermediate, where you'd be an intermediate athlete until you won Henley, and then you became senior. In 2000, Canadian Henley switched to age-based categories, and it became an under-23 event. It became an under-23 event in 2000.
Yes. So right now, it is Vesper leading the senior lightweight women's quad, but they are closely followed by Seattle and St. Catharines. We're going to have a better view in just a few strokes to tell you exactly where they are. All right, so Vesper coming through the line into the third 500. They're at about a 34, 35 stroke rate, and they're leading Seattle by about a length and a 2-seat margin. So 2 seats of open water from maybe even more, 3 seats now. And then it's Seattle closely followed by St. Catharines.
So this is going to be interesting to see if St. Catharines continues to sit back or if they decide to make a stronger push, and then how Seattle responds to that. And if St. Catharines makes that push and Seattle responds really well, that could help to close the gap that they have with Vesper Rowing Club at this point.
Yes. All right, so third 500. It's hot out there. They've been going, they're really in the pain cave right now. It really hurts. So there's a definite advantage to being up at this position, but it's also an opportunity for other crews to move up and for the current order to shift.
Yeah, some of the things that could play into this race would be how close these women were to weight this morning. Some of them are naturally around 59 kilograms. Some of them may have had to sweat off a couple of pounds in order to make the weight limit. So athletes that have done that, they weighed in early this morning, and hopefully they've properly replenished. These are experienced athletes, so I don't think that's going to be an issue. Sometimes at the U23 level, we see that a little more. Athletes haven't quite figured out how to make weight, but at this level, these women have been doing it for a number of years.
Yes. So still Vesper by open water to Seattle to St. Catharines.
Yeah, Vesper, one of the oldest rowing clubs around. They're out of Philadelphia on Boathouse Row. So if you're ever in Philadelphia, you get a great chance to go down Boathouse Row, see some wonderfully historic buildings, and they've been around since the 1800s. And Vesper is continuing that tradition here, and it looks like they're going to see what they can do to add to the number of lightweight women's quads that they have won over the years.
All right, so coming into the last 500, Vesper has about a length and a half of open water to Seattle. Vesper is still at a 34-35 stroke rate.
Yeah, and it looks like Seattle's opened up a little bit more on St. Catharines. So it's going to take a considerable amount of effort for Seattle to reel Vesper back in at this point. Vesper's been rowing really well. It doesn't look like their form has changed. They're in control of this race.
Yes. Good send off that boat too. Good power per stroke. They're very efficient at that 34, and they're getting a lot of run out of the boat in between each stroke.
Yeah, and rowing at a 34 base pace, some of the crews at the finish, they're going to bring their stroke rate up to 38, 40, 40 plus strokes a minute. They have a lot of room if they need to respond to a strong push by Seattle at this point as they get close to the red buoys signaling the last 250 meters of this race.
Yes, they do. They are definitely in a good position to defend any kind of charge that comes at them. So last 250 here, Vesper has entered the red buoys. They are at a stroke rate of 36, so starting to crank it up a little bit. Now at 37.
Yeah, and they're going to hear the fans in the grandstands too. There's going to be a lot of people cheering them. Vesper brings a big group of athletes down every year, and particularly those who have finished racing for the week. They're going to be down in the grandstands trying to help their crewmates come in and add a Henley Gold to their historic club.
Yes. So Vesper coming down to the line. They're in the last 150 meters now, sprinting it out, enjoying that you can win it right now that feeling of, yes, we've got this. We just need to finish it. Last few. So they're probably smiling and grimacing at the same time. Last 3 strokes here for Vesper, and then it's Henley Gold.
Yeah, it looks like Seattle's going to come in second. St. Catharines is trying to make a push there beside them, and they're being followed closely by Guelph, who looks like it's going to be Seattle in second, St. Catharines third, Guelph fourth, here in the final of the Women's Senior Lightweight Quad, the 136th edition of the Royal Canadian Henley Regatta.
Yep. Followed by University of Victoria, and then we do not see North Star yet, but they had a crab issue earlier in the race.
Yeah, that's an unfortunate end to this regatta for them. They've done so well, winning 2 Henley Golds for that club. Their coach, one of the provincial coaches, Pat Cody, was happily tweeting this morning. Pat's over. He coached the under-19 women's quad that finished 6th at the Junior World Championships.
Yes.